Should you do a Roth conversion even if you're projected to stay in the same tax bracket out there in the future? Yes, yes, and I've got 3 reasons why. I'll tell you those and more coming up. My name's Mike Bernard. I'm the host of the Wise Money Show. I'm also one of the certified financial planners right here at Korhorn Financial Group. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and smash that thumbs up button. Doing a Roth conversion is I would have said it used to be a pretty complicated financial strategy. Now it's very well known. Lots of people employ it, but not as many as should. And one of the reasons that might hold you back is you say, well, I'm in this tax bracket. I expect I'll always be in this tax bracket, and therefore makes no difference. Give me the tax deduction today. I'll pay taxes at this same rate out there in the future. Doesn't matter. And yeah, logically, I can't argue with you much. However, there's some very meaningful, intangible reasons why even if you project that you're going to be in the same tax bracket in the future, you should still consider and still do a Roth conversion. Now, before getting into those, Roth conversion is something where you've been saving pre-tax into your IRA or 401k, and all the contributions have been a tax deduction, or maybe your employer match has gone in there and you've never paid tax on that either. All the growth and all that. And then in those pre-tax accounts, whenever you withdraw the dollars, that's when you have to pay tax. So you win with these pre-tax accounts when you're in a high tax bracket today and a low tax bracket out there in the future. That's where you win, okay? So the question is, well, what if you're in a certain tax bracket today when you make your contribution and the same tax bracket when you withdraw your contribution or when you withdraw dollars? Does it make sense to do a Roth conversion? That's pre-tax accounts. Roth accounts, when you make a contribution, Roth IRA, Roth 401k, there's no tax benefit, there's no deduction. All the investments are tax sheltered just like they are in the IRA. But then when you withdraw the dollars, because you never deducted your contribution, no tax on that. But your growth, you can pull out tax-free as long as you've had a Roth IRA for 5 years and you're age 59 and a half. So these are great, both of them, great tax shelters. You've got to determine which one makes the most sense for you each and every year, depending on your situation. A Roth conversion is when you voluntarily say, now I'm going to shift some dollars from this pre-tax IRA over to my Roth IRA. And I'll pay the tax on it because, again, money's coming out of my IRA, but now it's in the Roth and it will grow tax-free forever. So again, you'd want to do that when you're in a low tax bracket today and a high tax bracket out there in the future. But is there a case to be made for doing a Roth conversion when you're in a certain tax bracket today and you're projected to stay in that tax bracket out there in the future? The answer is yes. And I've got the 3 reasons right now. First reason why you'd still want to consider doing a Roth conversion, even if you think you're going to be in the same tax bracket in the future. This one's the obvious one. I'm not going to punctuate this point. They could raise taxes in the future. Guys, right now, taxes are low. In fact, if they allow the Tax Cut and Jobs Act to expire, then taxes are going to revert back to what the rates were back in 2017. And that's not a huge increase, but it's a tax increase nonetheless. But we also know that we are running a significant deficit and growing our national debt at an astounding rate. And even if you say, nah, that's okay. Countries aren't supposed to run a balanced budget like like individuals are supposed to. Guys, if you look at how the Central Budgeting Office is projecting out what our national debt's going to be, at some point we may reach a tipping point. And even if you say, nah, I'm not even interested in that, I am personally, but Social Security, well, we've only got 10 years left before that's insolvent. So guys, at some point, taxes are likely to increase out there in the future. And therefore, if you're in a certain tax bracket today and think, yeah, I'll still be in that same tax bracket in the future, one reason to still do a Roth conversion or at least consider it is, yeah, but what if tax rates do rise in the future or there are new taxes out there in the future? That may be a reason to do that Roth conversion. Okay, now, second reason, and this is where I was meeting with some folks recently. They just retired and they're in the 12% tax bracket, near, but near the bottom. And the question was, should we do a Roth conversion to fill up that 12% tax bracket? Fill it all the way up. Even though, as we project out for as far as we can see, including their required minimum distributions, well, they're going to stay in the 12% tax bracket. So should we do a Roth conversion now anyway. And this second reason is, what if you find yourself suddenly single? If you're a married couple in retirement, then you have married filing jointly tax return, and your income brackets are such that the first, call it 22 grand is taxed at 10% after all your deductions. And then from 22 to almost 90 grand is taxed at 12%. And then from 90, so those are the tax brackets. Well, if you're single filer, then it's essentially half of that. Not exactly, but it's essentially half of that. And when you are in retirement, if one of you suddenly passes away and now you're left as a widow, you're going to get the higher of the two Social Securities, not both, the higher of the two. So that means your income will go down a little bit. But if there's a large pre-tax retirement account out there, then you're still forced to take the same required minimum distribution. And therefore, you're going to have all of that same income, essentially, but have a much smaller tax brackets. Therefore, you might, and most likely will, that will push you into a higher tax bracket out there in the future if you find yourself suddenly single. Now, very possible, that you both live to, many decades, and you have enjoy a very long, enjoyable retirement together. But if you know or expect, I'm going to be in the same tax bracket anyway, well, yeah, but what if one of you passes away earlier? What if one of you passes away at 80, still a long life, and the other person doesn't pass away until their early 90s? Well, gosh, yeah, for several years, you're going to be in a higher tax bracket than based on a single filer. So that'd be the reason, or the second reason, to consider still doing the Roth conversion. And then the third reason to still do the Roth conversion is along the same lines. And that is, what if both of you pass away? Or not even at the same time, but what if one of you passes away at 80 and the other passes away at 81, and you didn't have this really long life expectancy, and where you've depleted these dollars, and now all of your retirement nest egg is then inherited by the kids. Well, they then, and in this very example, this couple had around $2 million saved up in their pre-tax retirement accounts, and if they live a long time, they'll spend a good chunk of that. They do intend to, or hoping to, leave an inheritance, and based on their spending levels and income sources, yeah, I'm quite certain they will. They're not going to spend all that money. If they suddenly both pass away and their daughter inherits this $2 million, well, guys, she's going to be subject to the 10-year rule, meaning she'll have to, most likely the IRS is still coming out with their interpretation of this, but she'll have to take a required minimum distribution each year, but then by the 10th year, have the entire account emptied. So their single daughter in this situation, just if we do it a tenth, a little bit, spread a little bit each year, if she withdraws $200,000 out of that IRA, out of that inherited IRA every single year, what tax bracket will it put her in? Versus if you're contributing dollars up while you're in that same tax bracket along the way, then not only will there be no required minimum distribution for you or your spouse out there in the future on those dollars, but when your daughter inherits those dollars, she'll have to withdraw them still within 10 years, but it won't be taxable to her. So they're, again, choosing to do a Roth conversion, even if you're projected to still be in that same tax bracket, can still mean significant tax savings, even though at the surface, it doesn't appear that there will be any. So this is part of the creativity that your certified financial planner should be providing. We often say that your CFP, well, what's the value they should be delivering? Clarity, confidence, and creativity, okay? Your CFP should be helping you with that, and in the process of exploring, should you fund Roth IRAs or Roth 401k or pre-tax? Should you be doing Roth conversions? What's the strategy for that? Doing that multi-year tax analysis, tax projection to see, well, what tax bracket do we think you'll be in when you hit RMD age and all that sort of stuff. That's the value, that's the work that they should be doing and helping you with this as well. So work with your CFP on that. If you don't have a CFP on your team, contact one on my team. Find us online, Korhorn.com. That's Korhorn with K, wisemoneyshow.com. You can find us there as well, or give us a call, 574-247-5898. All right, there you have it. Go out and take your next wise step in your financial life.